Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. Are you an author, speaker, coach, or entrepreneur building a brand in today's very crowded marketplace? How do you stand out? Join me on September 27th and share 97 minutes of your time for just $97 and learn how to empower your brand message and shine as a guest on podcasts. iHeart's doing it. Spotify's doing it. You should do it too. Join me and spend 97 minutes of your time for just $97. You can find the registry link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Stacey Webb. She is an intuitive somatic mentor and coach, a trauma-trained somatic practitioner, and a best-selling author. Welcome, Stacey. How are you?
Thank you, Brad, for having me. I've been so excited for tonight, or tonight for me. So
Yes. We've been planning this for quite a while, so I'm really excited to have you here as well, and looking forward to jumping in and sharing all about the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do, a bit about your story and your journey. So with that being said, let's jump right in. How long have you been working in the world of somatic coaching and mentoring?
So I've been in the world of somatics for close to 15 years, but I've only actually started my business for about 4 years now. So I guess in the world of entrepreneur, it's still relatively fresh and new, but the somatic work itself has been there for quite some time.
Yeah. So Stacey, what were you doing for a living before making the leap into the entrepreneurial world, and what inspired that journey for you into entrepreneurship?
That's always the most interesting question people love because my background has actually been as a police officer. I've been a detective in the police force here in Australia, and I had been that role for nearly 20 years. On video, I know I look younger, but I was very young, just out of high school when I had started and when I joined the police academy. And I specialised here in Australia. A detective does high serious volumes of criminal investigation, and I specialised in sexual assault and coronial investigation. So matters are reportable deaths to the coroner, and that can be beyond murders or manslaughters. It could be your misadventure deaths, suicides, and anything else in between that as well. And I would investigate those as well. And as I would be speaking with many victims and witnesses, they're in various states of trauma as I'm talking to them, and I needed to get them to tell me information, and sometimes it would be time sensitive in regards to the investigation. But if they're in an extreme state of dysregulation or stuck in a trauma response, that limits the amount of information that I'm able to receive and also their memory recall. And so that's where I really started my beautiful journey in learning about trauma and specifically the nervous system and how I could best support them so I could do my best job. That way, so I could investigate the matter ethically with non-duality and everything else in between, but also being able to support them, because for some people, as they're telling me the story that I need to investigate the matter and take a statement and everything else, for some of them, it's re-traumatizing them.
They're reliving it.
Yes, and their nervous system may not be at a point to be able to do that at that time. And so I was trying to see how I could find some type of, at that point, I was trying to find some happy medium. For me, my jobs that I took on, they were so much attention and support and everything went into it. But I also then have a bunch of other cases that I would do as well. This is their life, and I wanted to make sure if I could prevent some type of re-traumatization or extreme overwhelm, or not adding to their trauma by me doing something that is not supportive to them, then I wanted to do everything I could best do for that. So that's how that was my prior life, I guess, so to speak. And with that, obviously, I've been very much that creator and holder of space. And it really just beautifully, naturally led to me opening my own business as an intuitive somatic mentor and coach to really support people with their fear and trauma through that somatic lens, and took that leap.
And here we are, as the rest, they say, it's his history. What drives, motivates, and inspires you to keep going and excelling at all that you do?
The main one is always the reminder that we are all interconnected, and it's a really beautiful reminder that we're not alone. For me, that's always been a really beautiful motivator for myself, and I know that my service is my medicine, and I know that will also be supportive to my clients that come along the way. Like, witnessing that transformation is a massive impact, and I feel really honoured when I get to be in space with that. But I know that also help support healing and growth, not only for them, but for generations before them, for generations after them, and also the collective as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that's really, I mean, that's what it's about, is healing the collective, helping to heal, doing our part to help raise the vibration of the collective.
Yeah, exactly.
We all have a part in that.
We do, and we all have a part because we're all interconnected with it. It's a beautiful reminder.
It is for sure. Now, can you explain what somatic coaching is and how it differs from other coaching modalities?
Yeah. So somatic coaching, or I'll probably most of the time interchange that word with somatic work, just because I incorporate the mentoring as well. It really integrates the principles from somatic psychology, neuroscience, and incorporating the coaching and mentoring techniques to help create that personal growth and transformation through someone's healing journey, through that body-centered approach. So sometimes for traditional coaching, maybe a little bit more centered on talk therapy type of ways, where somatic coaching is really utilizing the mind-body connection. It incorporates the body because that's where trauma and fear is all stored in that, and really allowing that awareness of the body, the awareness of how our body is communicating to us, because that's also ultimately our nervous system, how that is communicating to us, how we can explore those bodily sensations, emotions, and experiences like that, and be able to support the nervous system in that way when we integrate it as well. So somatic work really is also focusing on the nervous system support, and really beyond just regulating the nervous system, because regulating the nervous system is a really buzzword right now, right. But it's really beyond regulating the nervous system. It's empowering the nervous system, which also supports the fact that we can at times be dysregulated, but we can still be held, we can still be loved, and we can still support ourselves in that way as well. Because at times we need to be dysregulated. It's actually ultimately protecting us, and at times we do need that. It's a beautiful messenger to allow us to know whether we need to establish a boundary or we need to do certain things, but also ultimately because there may legitimately be a danger that we actually need to have that message and support. So again, we can then empower our nervous system in those states to support ourselves, and then bring in regulation if it's required.
Now, do you find that many of your clients do have that self-awareness already when they come to you about that connection between mind and body? Like, they can feel into their sensations, or is it a smaller percentage? Just curious.
Some do and some don't. Some people are wanting it. They have that desire. They're curious about it, but most of their life they've lived in dissociation or autopilot or survival mode, and they don't know how. For a lot of people, when we're wanting to support our nervous system, a lot of it is also the main foundation is that we need to ensure that we can create and cultivate a foundation of safety in the nervous system. Mm-hmm. There's no point working on any fear or trauma if the nervous system doesn't feel safe to even acknowledge it. And for some people who have been perhaps stuck in survival mode for years, they're doing a lot of other things to prevent not feeling. So feeling is overwhelming. Feeling, when you're overwhelmed and something's too fast, too soon, you're creating an extreme dysregulation to your nervous system. You can re-traumatize yourself. So again, we need to create that foundation of safety before even perhaps inviting in awareness of the body, because again, that might be too overwhelming for them at that
Yeah.
time. But for clients, like if they're in that state, they also have that desire, that deep knowing that they want something to change within themselves, even if they don't know what it is, but they just know it. And perhaps they've tried all other different ways, and that's what made them come to somatic work, because other ways may not have been supportive, or they just felt that in a calling that this may perhaps be the support that they need for being a part of their support system and taking the leap to try.
Can you discuss the role of embodiment in somatic coaching and why it's essential for personal growth and transformation?
Yeah. Look, for me, embodiment is a real pivotal and vital role in somatic work. It's that beautiful foundation for how we also have that personal growth and transformation, because it creates that deeper connection to our bodily sensations, our emotions, and our experiences. So the embodiment here allows us to access then our subconscious fears, beliefs, and traumas to meet and release them. This is really allowing, because we're working with the body, allowing us to embody what we're actually working on. And that's really its beautiful process in doing that. Here, it really then creates that beautiful holistic integration. We can say all the words and allow our mind to think it, but if our body doesn't feel it, if we don't embody that, then it's just words and it doesn't do anything. But if we allow that embodiment to happen, that's where integration happens. That's where the work really starts to go beyond. And integration happens beyond the session and in between sessions and in life itself when you're in everyday life of living. And embodiment starts that process.
Yeah, as you say, you can hear the words and take them in mentally, but you need to really take it in and truly embody it so that the work can begin.
Exactly right. And like mantras and affirmations are absolutely amazing. But if we don't allow that to embody it in, they are just words. You know, I could say I'm worthy and I'm lovable, but if I don't allow myself to embody a bit of that, then my nervous system isn't going to believe I'm worthy and lovable. I can just say it so everyone else thinks that I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can talk and talk all you like, but you have to embody what you're saying. And you have to truly believe it.
Exactly.
Truly, in your heart of hearts.
Yes. And so for that, we have to embody it. We have to go into the body for that. And when the body feels that and allows that beautiful support of that, we empower our nervous system with it. That's where that mind-body connection happens. So our mind isn't something that we just instantly need to dismiss. Our mind is absolutely amazing, but it needs to be working congruently and coherently with our body. Otherwise, again, it's just logical mind and it's just words.
Absolutely. So how do you incorporate intuition into your coaching practice, and how does that enhance the client's experience?
Yeah. So I incorporate intuition on both ends for me and my client. So for me, I include using my intuitive intelligence to help support the presence and create that safety for my clients, allowing them to feel that support. Again, when we're working with the nervous system, we need to cultivate safety. They need to feel that safe and trust to even start to do anything with me. For me, I use my intuitive insights as to how that may be to support their nervous system. There's many modalities that I blend in with my work, and so it allows me to go, in this specific case, this is the best one that we use at the moment, and bring in the different tools to help support the nervous system, because everyone's nervous systems is different. Everyone's experienced various different types of traumas in many different ways, and as well as our subconscious fears and generational trauma and all these things to come up to make how beautiful as it is. And it's not just a one approach fits all. And so I use my intuition for that. On the other side of it, though, in my work, I help support the nervous system to feel empowered, but also so that they can start to attune to their own intuition, to strengthen their own intuition, to learn to trust it and to learn to follow it. They can actually start to feel that they can use their intuition and not just dropping in what's the answer to this, but allowing it to be a part of their everyday life, being beyond intuition to being intuitive intelligence and being a part of its everyday life.
That takes a lot of work to trust your intuition, to lean into your intuition. I mean, we all have it. We're all born with it, but it gets conditioned out of us. And exactly, I think that we forget. It gets tamped down, it gets buried, and we forget that we have that skill set. Everybody has it. But
exactly.
I love that you use your intuition to guide your clients, but you also help them tap into theirs and teach them about using their intuition and leaning into it and trusting and allowing. It is so important, but it takes a lot of work.
Takes a lot of work. Yeah. But you know what? Working with the nervous system, it works side by side with each other. Again, because you're tuning to the body, and the body communicates with us in various ways. And so you allowing them to start to trust and practice that with your intuition is a beautiful way. What way to start practicing something than in a safer container that's already created for you? I'm a recovering perfectionist. And again, like, how amazing is it to have a space where you can explore? Because when you're a perfectionist, everything has to be perfect. Otherwise, you don't want to show that. So allowing that beautiful way to express that is beautiful. And when we're practicing with practicing intuition, again, as you said, we've been conditioned out of it because we were conditioned that we need to be able to use our dominant senses first, and anything else is something that we shouldn't trust because our logical brain needs to have something else to say, yes, that's right. So this is, again, like, it's unlearning and relearning. And you know, definitely.
Could you provide one tip for listeners that they could implement immediately to start leaning into and trusting their intuition? One tip. My
one tip first would be to see what your dominant clair is for how you receive your intuition. We all like the four main clairs that I guess I'm referring to is the clairvoyance, clear sight, clairaudience, clear hearing of the audio there. We have clairsentience, clear feeling, and claircognizance, that clear knowing. Just know it, or I can just feel it for the clairsentience. And those two are usually the commonly dismissed ones. Because we have to, again, tune into our body. We have to feel something or know something. And a lot of people very much know of clairvoyance and seem to think that must only be predicting the future or seeing people who have passed. We all receive it, but there's going to be one that's going to be really most dominant to us. And as we start to practice, the others will start to mold in and feel like it all comes in at once. But for that tiny little millisecond before, it is going to be our dominant clair. If we are aware of what our dominant clair is, then you can start really practicing it. Because for some people, they might think, oh, no, it's actually clairaudience, but it might be actually clairsentience, because, again, it's the most commonly dismissed one. You might actually feel something first. And so let's practice that. Practice.
I would think that the feeling one and the sensing one would be the most common, because we've all said, oh, I've just got this gut feeling about this, or I got this gut feeling I shouldn't go this way, I should go that way. And that would be the most common one, I would think. They are one of the most commons, but they're also going to be the most common ones that we're going to have the self-doubt to come into it as well. Those times I just knew I had to speak to you and all of these different type of things, but also that knowing at times we will most commonly question ourselves and the self-doubt will come in as a result. And once that the ego comes in for it and sets its place, it becomes very loud to the subtle whispers of what our intuitive intelligence starts to bring to us, especially if it's new to us. It's going to be really subtle. It's going to be these little breadcrumbs, because if it tells you its full thing in its full phase, you'll instantly dismiss it and go, no, that will never happen. The intuition's not going to tell you the reasoning behind it, gives you the breadcrumbs. No. The ego wants to know. So again, that's where we would instantly dismiss it, because we don't understand the logic behind it. Makes sense. Absolutely. What techniques or exercises do you use to help clients with their body's sensations and emotions during coaching sessions?
Yeah. So in my work, I blend in quite a lot. Mindfulness, EFT tapping, breath work, somatic movement, inner child work, shadow work. With nervous system empowerment, I bring in the various aspects of polyvagal theory, somatic experiencing, and IFS, subconscious programming, spiritual wisdom, ceremonial rituals, heart congruence. There's so much, but it actually beautifully weaves in that it doesn't feel like it's segmented. It naturally weaves into it all. But I bring all of the techniques because, again, everyone's nervous system's different. And one specific technique or tool in the tool belt, as I like to call it, really may be supportive in that time. And I mean, how amazing is we just have more tools to be able to support ourselves? Like,
absolutely.
We're always going to be
have to pick and choose.
Exactly.
So what tools use? Because, as you said, everyone is different, and some tools will or will not resonate with people. So you use the ones that resonate for each client.
Yeah, and also to resonate with whatever particular trauma state that you may be in or state of dysregulation that you may be in, and also what may be in terms of how your brain processes things as well. I'm a mother of neurodivergent and neurodiverse children, and when one of them is angry, we need to be able to allow healthy anger ways to go, and that will be very different to when they are sad, or when they are feeling hurt, or all these different aspects. Tapping is great, but tapping for my son who has autism, it doesn't support him as deeply when he's angry. He needs to let it other ways. When the anger is released and the sadness comes in, he likes to use tapping. So it's really that beautiful exploration. Some people, when they're angry, tapping will support them. So again, like, everyone's nervous system's different. What really starts to resonate with you, and also in that moment. And it's a really beautiful thing when we try something to go, oh, well, that didn't work for me. Perhaps it didn't work for you at that state of dysregulation that you were at that time.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that tool will not work for you ever. Just at that particular moment, it wasn't the appropriate tool to be using.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. In your opinion, what are some key factors that contribute to successful coaching relationships, particularly in the realm of somatic coaching?
Definitely the first forefront is the establishment of safety and trust. Again, we're working with the body, we're working with the nervous system, so we are working with nervous systems that have experienced extreme bouts of subconscious fear and trauma. And so that trust and safety needs to be there before you can do anything else. That nervous system, even if it feels dysregulated in its state, needs to feel that it can trust even being at space with you before you can even cultivate or help support a sense of safety within to even go beyond. So that's the very first thing there. For me as well, in somatic work, I also need to be really attuned to be able to see their nervous system cues so I can then best support them. And that's why working with somatic work and being trauma trained is really be able to be a little bit more laser focused to be able to support them in that way, and really then prevents that overwhelm, prevents that too fast, too soon, prevents that re-traumatization. Again, because that nervous system is trusting you and is starting to feel safe enough. If it feels a sense of that it's being deceived in any way, or that re-traumatization and it's going back into a moment that it's not ready for, it's going to be even harder to be able to allow that nervous system to trust again. Yeah. So
trust is paramount, a safe environment and trust.
Yeah.
Now, as mentioned, you are, and we've been talking about trauma, you're trauma-trained somatic practitioner. I'm curious, what led you to specialize in trauma-trained somatic therapy? I know where it came from with your previous training, and how has your journey shaped your approach to healing trauma?
As I mentioned, with the cases that I specialized in, they were all in that various states of trauma. So I really, for me, it was a beautiful naturally transition to specialize in something that was in extreme trauma states for the type of investigations that I did, to be able to use the skills and the studies and everything that I've learned to transfer it into trauma-trained somatic therapy. It's shaped my own journey because along all of that, I had to do my own work. Within. I can only take my clients as willing as I'm willing to take myself, you know what I mean? And I needed to be on my own trauma healing journey. And I have experienced various amounts of trauma, not only just in my time in the police force, but my time before I joined and everything like that, as well as believing my own subconscious fear, not being worthy enough or fear of being abandoned, the extreme people pleaser and perfectionist within me when it came to certain things. So I needed to do that work myself as well. And seeing how supportive and effective it is made me even more passionate about it further, because I know that this work works. That's why I do this with my clients, because it does work. And for me, experience as a police officer, especially the stigma around police mental health 20 years ago as well, like you would never speak up. You would be in fear that you'd be restricted, that your gun would be taken away, or you couldn't be out on the road and things like that. And as a result, you wouldn't speak to anyone. For me, when at times I was given someone to talk to and it was more of a talk therapy type thing, unfortunately those for me at those times didn't work for various different reasons. And also at the same time, as first responders, you are conscious of the fact that you see things that not everyday people see. And if you talk to someone who may not understand it, you may traumatize them, and you didn't want to do that either. So this was a really beautiful way to actually start working on myself, where I didn't have to say the story. The somatic therapy and somatic work is really great because you don't have to say the story or the trauma if you don't want to or you are not ready for it, and you can actually still work on your own trauma healing journey with it. And that was a really big pivotal step for me. I really wanted to work on myself and help myself, but for some of my traumas, I wasn't ready to talk about it. And at one point I thought I can't do anything, but actually I can. And so that was a really beautiful transition point for it.
Love it. Now, how do you address the mind-body connection in your work with trauma survivors, and why is this approach essential for healing?
It always comes back to that building of safety and trust. When we do that, we can cultivate and start to build safety in the nervous system. That's the first paramount of what it needs to be. For some people, that might be a long journey to do that. As I said, if they've been in years of chronic freeze and extreme bouts of numbing with addictions and different things like that, that can be a journey in itself, but my God, it's still an amazing journey. And when you cultivate that and have that feeling and sense of that, there is still amazing transformation that happens before you even get into doing all the other work. So
incredible. Now, how does the world of being a trauma-trained somatic practitioner differ from a regularly trained practitioner? And what are a couple of the benefits of working with somatics versus non-somatic?
Yeah. So I mentioned, I think we're in the past in terms of talk therapy. So somatic, being trauma trained in somatic therapy or being a trauma trained somatic practitioner, again, we're working with the body. We're doing a body up approach. And so again, for people who may not be ready to say their story or ready to say a specific story, you can still work on that trauma and can still do it. So it is really beautifully different to talk-based therapies. Being a somatic practitioner and a trauma-trained one for me is that also recognizing how trauma manifests in the body, and then employing the techniques and the tools to be able to support the body in those ways. Trauma can be very complex and there's so many different aspects, but there's actually so many beautiful tools that we can also still use to support the nervous system, because that is where trauma is held. It's held in our body. It's held in our nervous system, and our nervous system is the backbone us as a person. We need to actually really support our nervous system, and we're not taught this stuff when we're in schools or anything like that. And I can tell you in the police academy, you weren't taught about trauma and how to acknowledge the different states of trauma and how you can maybe perhaps interact and support people experiencing trauma. For me, I wasn't taught that in the police academy or anything else. I went out and did my own study to learn that. I remember there was only, this is perhaps how you do a death message, but it didn't actually tell you and go through the bouts of the trauma that people experience, just even seeing you before you turn up or opening the door, or how you feel having to give the message, and how the different responses that can come from someone receiving that type of message, and how each of those responses are still normal responses. We're not taught that type of stuff. And being trauma trained really, and for somatics, is understanding the cues of all of that as well. Yeah. Again, because some people are very good to tell you what you are happy to hear, but there's actually other somatic cues that can actually tell you more about whether that person is experiencing a severe bout of depression, that they're stuck in a very dysregulated state and in a trauma state, to be able to support them as well. Yeah.
How incredibly beneficial. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That training, to be able to, especially if you're working as a police officer, I can't even imagine what that must have been like to show up at someone's door and tell them that their loved one has passed away due to whatever the case was. To be trained in that and to be able to benefit yourself and the people you're showing up to deliver those types of messages to must have been incredibly helpful.
Quite a lot of people, their first interaction with police is where they are a victim or a witness of something. For a lot of people, it very much may be the death message that they receive. And when you are implanted in their memory forever, and most of the time, obviously it's not for a great reason, how you deliver that message and how you handle that will be embedded in their body for the rest of their lives. And so I can tell you, even for the police officers that I've spoken to, and just me, when you're on the way there, you're going through your mind, how are you going to say it? Because you don't want to stuff it up. You don't want to, every word you say it's going to change their life. It's going to change their life.
You have to be very selective on the words you choose to use.
And also, as a result of that, there are a number of police officers who feel uncomfortable giving the death message, which is understandable, but because also it's uncomfortable about being in space when people are in grief.
Yeah,
because people don't know, people are uncomfortable. And I have one specific memory, I know I've given a death message, and there were 6 people in that room, and each of them responded differently to the message that I had to give them because of their nervous system and how they were at that time. And each of those 6 people still responded in a way that is understandably for the message that I gave them. But for some, it could be very uncomfortable to see. And for those people, I'm in space with them in their most vulnerable time.
For sure. Absolutely.
Which also, again, which is why sometimes they don't really want much to do with us afterwards, because there is those moments of feelings that they have because they have been in such a vulnerable state with you, again, with a memory that has changed their life and will be forever embedded in their body. So
yeah, for sure. What are some common misconceptions about trauma and somatic therapy, and how do you dispel them in your practice?
Yeah, so one common misconception, again, is when you're wanting to work on your trauma is that you have to actually say it, showing that somatic therapies, you don't have to say the trauma. And I like to hopefully think that I portray that a lot within my messages and how I talk about the nervous system and how I can support my clients in really being able to share that is you don't have to say that if you're not ready for that. Some people do, and it's a part of what they need to do, and that's completely fine. But really acknowledging that you also don't have to, and we can still work on it. Another misconception is people thinking that people only need to get somatic therapy or do somatic work if they have severe trauma or PTSD, or what I like to call PTSI, post-traumatic stress injury. In my practice, I really highlight the fact that somatic work is really beneficial for anyone who is experiencing stress, who is experiencing overwhelm or anxiety, subconscious fears, as well as then their traumas, because again, it is your nervous system being dysregulated, and maybe perhaps that is as a result of something else, a deeper root, a problem? Is it as a result of a trigger? There are many different aspects that can still be supported and really allowing you to live that empowered, embodied life where you're feeling like you're living life and making choices because they're out of response to life, not because the fear and trauma of things that are happening are in the driver's seat making all the decisions. And so that's a nice misconception I like to feel that we can hopefully support people with. Another one is that you don't have to just choose one. I'm very big on we need to ensure that we create scaffolding for ourselves and build our support team. And that support team can be a mixture of family, friends, and professionals. And some people seem to think when it comes to professionals that they must only choose one and it must only be one thing and that is it. You can have a counselor or a psychologist or psychotherapist or anything like that and a somatic practitioner at the same time. You can have both and you can do all that type of work. That's what you need to build your scaffolding and support team. Then go all for it. I think it's amazing. And I have quite a lot of clients where I work alongside with their counselors and or psychologists and anything else before. Like you don't have to choose one or the other. So
yeah. I love the scaffolding analogy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
How do you, as a practitioner, we've talked a lot about, and you've mentioned it quite a few times, about safe space.
Yeah.
So how do you create that safe and supportive space for your clients to explore and process their traumatic experiences?
Look, a lot of that's always going to come through energy and the alchemy that we have between us.
Okay.
I guess some people probably may have followed me for a while or seen me, whether it's been on podcasts or on my socials or anything like that, or read my books or something, so they may feel that they can feel my energy before even starting. Some people do a discovery call to have a bit more of a deeper conversation with me rather than perhaps just hearing me on a podcast, so then they can see whether they feel that trust is there, that beautiful inner knowing and feeling and everything else in between that is
alignment.
Our intuition. Exactly, yeah. And that's really paramount because, again, if you want someone on your support team, you want someone in your scaffolding, you need to feel that alchemy is aligned between you two. You need to feel that person is going to be supporting you and guiding you and all of those things that you're looking for. That's why you're seeking support. And not everyone is for everyone. That's the
Very
beautiful
true.
part of this amazing world as well. So, again,
Yeah. Absolutely. Can you discuss the role of regulation and co-regulation in somatic therapy and how it supports the healing process?
Yeah, so regulation, when we talk about regulation, we're talking about regulation to our nervous system, that beautiful modulating. It's allowing ourselves to get out of fight, flight, freeze response and allowing ourselves to come back to that sense of safety within our nervous system, which it could be otherwise known as a sense of safety and connection, ventral vagal, in those states, allowing ourselves to come back there. We're not meant to be there all the time. Again, we're supposed to, we experience different things, but what we do is we need to build capacity. So when we're feeling that state of dysregulation, we become aware that we're dysregulated and we're able to know perhaps what's happening, why is this there, and also allow ourselves to use the tools to support ourselves and regulate our nervous system. And when we do that in the capacity, when we build capacity, we're able to allow ourselves to get back to a sense of safety and connection a lot quicker than perhaps if we weren't. And so with that, we can do regulation through self-regulation and co-regulation. Self-regulation, we self-regulate ourselves, or co-regulation, we co-regulate with someone else. And that may be with someone live in a session, one-on-one with someone. It may even be listening to a guided meditation or a guided session. You're still co-regulating with a nervous system. Nervous systems don't understand time and space. That's why we have triggers, because our body is believing that we're experiencing that trauma again. It doesn't recognize that it may have been some time. So even when you're watching a replay of someone's masterclass or webinar, or you're listening to a guided meditation, your nervous system is co-regulating with that nervous system. We are all energy, and we're all expanding and expelling our energy, and we're connecting with other people's nervous systems all the time. And the energy is sending and receiving information. Again, when you're in space with someone, you'll be able to know whether you feel that trust, and that's where the co-regulation starts to happen. That's the beautiful part. And again, it's a part of our regulating of our nervous system, but we can also self-regulate. And the work that I do with my clients, yes, at times we will definitely start to co-regulate, but I then teach them the tools. So at times when we're not together in session, that you can self-regulate, because I want you to have the tools to be able to go and live your life, not feel dependent on me to have a session with me all the time. So it's really allowing those beautiful tools. And it's beautiful, the fact that again, because we are human beings and we do love connection, that it is really great to co-regulate with someone else as well. So again, we don't always want to feel that we have to do everything ourselves.
Yes,
we can have
sure.
support again, and we do this with if we're parents, we do this with our children. How many times are we co-regulating with our children if they've hurt themselves and you give them a cuddle, give them a kiss on the cheek, everything's okay, it's all right, you're safe here now. You're co-regulating with their nervous system. And by that, you're just being in space with them, and you're allowing that cultivation of safety where they feel safe and trust to be with you. And perhaps then they may stop crying and they may wipe away their tears. And the next thing you know, thanks, Mum, and they jump up and they run away because you've co-regulated with their nervous system. You've validated and acknowledged their feelings. They've gone, okay, I was sad because I've scraped my knee and it hurt and I'm frustrated because I let go of the handles of the scooter or something. We're validating them. We're not telling them stop crying and get over it. Okay, you're sad. Are you okay? Do you need a hug? Are you all right? You're safe now. Okay, thanks, Mum.
See you later.
See you later. I mean, that's just a very quick example, but I think it just sort of goes to show just in everyday life how we co-regulate, perhaps without us even recognizing. Times we may, are you okay, and give someone a hug or just put our hand on someone's shoulder. We are co-regulating.
Or just listen. Just listen
exactly
to them talk.
Right. Exactly. Let alone with all the other tools that we can bring in with breath work and tap in and everything else. So it's just a beautiful amount of tools that we can do to support each other.
For sure. Now, you've mentioned you're trained in multiple modalities, EFT, breath work as well. So what modalities have you found that have been most effective in helping release trauma in the body?
I think all of them are. And again, it really just depends on their nervous system, how dysregulated they are and what trauma state they're in. And that will always what is best effective for them at that moment. And perhaps later on it could be something else. But it will always come down to feeling safe, the nervous system feeling safe. And that always comes down to resourcing. We can resource in different ways. We resource by using all of those modalities, but allowing that resourcing of the nervous system, even though it feels dysregulated in a fight, flight, freeze, it still, to some degree, feels safe enough to be with you. That's where you can start doing the work.
Yeah. Okay. How do you approach working with clients who may be a little bit resistant or skeptical about somatic therapy?
Yeah, look, with that, you validate their concerns and acknowledge what they're saying and creating that non-judgmental space for exploration. It's always the beautiful thing. If someone's skeptical of it and you instantly dismiss them because they don't agree with you, you're already being judgmental with them. Again, they're not going to now feel safe with you. I think the beautiful part of somatic work is that there's so much evidence-based, science-based research on how effective this work is to our nervous system. So for the logical brain who needs to see the science behind it, there is so much science now for it. And for the beautiful creative side of our brain that really resonates with the words energy and interconnectedness with the universe and things like that, again, it can really resonate with that. Somatic work really help support and both functions, both sides of the brain, so to speak. But it will always then come down to, again, that non-judgmental, allow the exploration, because perhaps they are non-judgment, they're skeptical about it because they've tried something in the past and it didn't work. As we've mentioned before, again, maybe it didn't work because your nervous system was in a different state at that time and perhaps something else needed to be able to help co-regulate and regulate your nervous system. Again, we don't want to dismiss what they're feeling because, you tried something and it didn't work. Yeah. It didn't work for you at that time. However, perhaps blah, blah, blah. And
I have another tool in my tool belt that might work for you at this time.
And I think that the beautiful part is when people start to meet and become aware of their nervous system, they are then more open and understanding to explore more. To go, okay, now I understand why that thing didn't work in the past because I was actually in a freeze state and I was doing something that was probably more suited to me and my nervous system in a flight state. So now I'm open to explore. I have the seed of wanting to explore and I might try something else. And that's all these. And I've tried that because someone has allowed me to learn, to teach me so I can learn about my nervous system in a non-judgmental way that allows me to explore.
Again, safety.
Yeah.
Safety and trust. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of our interview, and you just mentioned it, that you are a best-selling author. You've written books. So I would love for you to speak a little bit about the book or books that you've written or participated in. And can you tell us a bit about them, the titles, the subject matter, and what that experience was like for you, sharing your stories and your views with the world in a book?
Yeah, thank you. So I released my first book in 2021, and it was called The Intuitive Detective. And that is more of a memoir of my life, not just being in the police force, but, you know, as a child, teenager and beyond, as a mother. I'm a mother to 4 children. You know, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, all of those things. And it really shared about when you listen to your intuition and when you don't, how that actually weaves into how your life has been at the moment as well. And not only when we listen to our intuition can it help towards our higher purpose and our support here in life on earth, but when we also listen to our intuition and follow and trust it, how it can also support us on our own healing journey. And so I share stories of my life on the times when I avoided my intuition or pushed it aside or pretend it wasn't there, to the times of when I did as well. And so I share that. And that was a really big step because that was my first book. It was really allowing myself to be seen. As I've mentioned, I'd been a police officer for nearly 2 decades, and I was very conditioned and institutionalized. And that's also probably why my business is only 4 years older, not older, because I really believed in my own subconscious fears that my skills aren't transferable besides being a cop, because it's one of my first, I had more adult jobs before I was a police officer, but, you know, that first adult job, and I was very conditioned because I was very young in it, you're very institutionalized in it, and you do really believe that you can't do anything else, and you wouldn't be good at anything else because you don't have a trade, or you don't have this, or you don't have that, and all of these fears start coming in, you start to believe them, you start to doubt yourself. And so this was a really big thing because I always loved writing. I always thought I would write books being younger, but then I thought I couldn't do that once I became a police officer. And so I dismissed it completely. So really allowing myself to be seen with all of me in this book, because I do share some vulnerable moments that I know needed to be shared to be able to support other people as well. And so there were really big things there. But I'm so glad because it's done amazing. It's won multiple awards around the world, and I know it's really, thank you, and I know it's really supporting people. In my second book I released last year, Foundations of Tapping, inviting EFT and other tapping practices into your life. So as you said, I am an EFT practitioner, otherwise known as tapping. And I wrote a book about getting people to understanding what tapping is, how you can incorporate your life through a somatic lens, and how you can use it also in your everyday life. So I shared different tapping practices, how you can do it different times to support your nervous system, how you can incorporate into your daily life. And I do have an additional companion workbook if people want to go through a little bit more in depth and go through practices a little bit more in depth. So I shared that one now, which was good. That's the one that became the Amazon bestseller on its launch day here in Australia, which was really exciting, and has also won some awards around the world as well. Thank you. And I'm in the book with you, Hear Us Roar, the Line edition. With the beautiful Karen McDermott, and she was my publisher for The Intuitive Detective. I'm really excited for that book and sharing the strength and my journey of acknowledging when I wasn't feeling the greatest with my own mental health in the police force, and taking the step to embark on my own healing journey and utilizing the somatic tools that I was helping other people with, and realizing that I actually needed to do them myself as well. Again, like your first responder, when you're in those caring roles and really wanting to serve the community, and I feel like it's also motherhood at the same time. You care for others. You care for others, and you want to keep caring for others, and you don't want to let other people down. And at the same time, you really also need to care for yourself. And for me, it really took a moment of not being really great with my mental health to realize that I need to change. My father died from suicide. I didn't want to be like that for my children. I wanted to break the generational trauma and cycle of that. And I knew the only way I could do that was by doing the work myself. And I realized that I actually knew all the tools, but also, again, I also needed to accept help from others and bring people into my support team and utilize that. With that, tapping was a really big part of my life. And that's why I really loved doing the tapping book, and I share that in Hear Us Roar. I've got, 2 more anthologies that will come out later this year. One is Mothers Empowering Mothers, and I share how being a mum as a police officer and doing the internal struggle and juggle of being a mother, as well as being a police officer, being a detective. And I share parts of my journey. As I said, I've got children who are neurodivergent, and they each have their own, all of my children each have their own individual beautiful needs, and sort of sharing my journey on how I sort of try to do that. And again, spoiler alert, the only reason why I could do it is if I really took care of my nervous system.
Yeah.
Again,
sure.
you can't take care of others unless you take care of yourself as well.
Yeah.
And the next anthology, that's the word, that will come up is called Spectacular, Navigating Life on the Spectrum. And I share my experience as a mother to a child with autism and ADHD. So
we will put the links for the books in the show notes for when we release your episode, so everyone can check that out. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
I do like to think first and foremost, it's the creating and holding of space. For me to create and hold space for that nervous system or nervous systems to feel safe to trust me.
Speaking of success, how do you define that word? What does the word success mean to you?
Success is the empowering sense of wholeness, derived from our own actions, regardless of the nature or scale. And when we're able to create that deep connection with ourselves and our own personal agency and purpose, that is success.
Love it. What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before you learned it? And what was your life like after learning it?
Biggest one is that I'm not alone. Really, as I mentioned, my dad died when I was young, so a lot of abandonment issues and feeling like I needed to do everything myself. And that I was really great, high achiever, good girl, got all the good grades, great to help everyone else, but I was hating life. I felt like I was living every day in Groundhog Day. I felt like I was just living on dissociation, autopilot, and survival mode. And now that I have learned the fact that I'm not alone, that I can accept help and that it's okay, my life is completely different now. I enjoy life. I love life. I love spending time with my children and love doing my work and love being of service and I just, all of those beautiful things that we're meant to be here and enjoy life and have that beautiful embodied life. That's what I have now that I know and embody and believe that.
Have done the work and have the self-awareness, which is huge. Self-awareness is massive.
It really is.
All of that, for sure.
Yeah.
What's something surprising that you've learned about yourself in the last year?
I think I wouldn't say it is surprising to me at times, again, because the perfectionist is that we're not here in life meant to know everything. And one of the surprising things is that I know I am a wealth of knowledge to support people, but I also know and to be a teacher and supporting other people, and I can also still be the student at the same time. And it is surprising for me because the perfectionist and the independent person in me to be able to share that vulnerability with people. And it's surprising when it started and how supportive it was still able to be. But so it was really lovely.
What does the word empowerment mean to you, Stacey?
Empowerment, I believe, represents the beautiful, holistic liberation and activation that we can have within ourselves, that beautiful intertwining of freedom and our inner wisdom and our agency to navigate life and its resilience and purpose, and ultimately our authenticity within ourselves.
I love that. Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section. So the next grouping of questions is just going to be 1, 2, 3 word answer type thing, okay?
Okay.
What is one of your favorite quotes?
It's by Eckhart Tolle. The journey to wholeness is a return to one's authentic self. It is about peeling away the layers of conditioning to reveal the true essence that has always been there.
Never heard that one before. What is one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
Authentic living.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
That you are whole and divine just as you are.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
I have to do it in 3. Warrior of grace.
All right. What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
That I am compassionate.
What is your favorite self-care practice?
Tapping. Love, love, love.
That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I created a question that I did not send to you ahead of time. I call it my bonus question.
Love.
If other people could use 3 words to describe you, what would you want those 3 words to be?
Compassionate, fierce, supportive.
Okay. If you could step into my shoes, what is one question that you would ask yourself that I didn't ask you?
What's next for you, Stacey?
All right, what's next for you, Stacey?
I am writing my next solo book. I mean, it's a slow burn, but I'm really enjoying that beautiful fact. I do have a new self-paced course coming out next month, which is called Everyday Magic, Awakening Your Inner Magic with Nervous System Empowerment and Somatic Tools, which is beautiful. And I'm living my life with my beautiful family as we continue going into what will soon be winter for us here in Australia. So,
do you have a title for your book?
It's playing around with a couple of ones, so hopefully it'll be soon.
All right. What is your why?
My why is to empower people to reconnect with their inner wisdom, embody their authentic self, and cultivate a resilience by integrating somatic embodiment and intuitive intelligence tools.
Mm-hmm. If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
That would be Deb Dana. She's a renowned psychotherapist, an educator, and an author, and she specializes in the field of polyvagal theory. And Deb Dana's insights into the nervous system and the trauma response have honestly influenced the fields of therapy and somatic therapy. And I would love to have a conversation with her.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
That pretty much the same as what I've said before, that you are whole and divine just as you are. You are not broken, and you never were.
Nobody's broken.
Yeah.
Lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your people, your corner of the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
Our journey to wholeness is a sacred path of self-discovery and connection, and to embrace the depths of your being, for within lies wisdom to heal, the courage to grow, and the capacity to love unconditionally.
Beautifully said. What a wonderful way to end the interview. Stacey, thank you so much for taking and making the time today. I know it's evening there for you, so I really appreciate you staying up to do this with me. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I am honored and blessed to have had the opportunity to sit down and speak with you and share a little bit about your story, your journey, and the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brad. It was an absolute pleasure to be in space with you.
The pleasure and honor is all mine. Thank you. Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Stacey Webb. She is an intuitive somatic mentor and coach, a trauma-trained somatic practitioner, a best-selling author, and of course, last but not least, a mother. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful evening and a lovely sleep when you get there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.